Hi everyone, I'm April, and you're watching The Tangled Cat Speaks, and this is a book edition. So, this is a little bit of a shorter episode just because the last book edition that I usually do them at the beginning of the month, the middle of the month, and that one was sort of pushed, the previous one was sort of pushed back a little, so this one had less time. So there's less books. So let's go ahead and get started. I did read some horror and some sci-fi for the beginning of October. So let's go ahead and start with the horror. The first thing that I read was Ghost Stories of an Antiquary by M.R. James. This is a classic author, and it's in the anthology of several short stories. I think there were 9, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't remember, but they're all quite short. But they're that kind of atmospheric horror as opposed to like gory horror, if that makes any sense. So there was, like I said, several different short stories in there, and out of all of them, there was one called Mezzotint that was my favorite. And that one had to do with a painting that every time you looked at it, something about it was changed. And every time it changed, there's like a progression of something creepy going on within this painting. It was very cool, very scary. There was other ones. What was the other one? Number 13 was another short story in there that had to do with a man staying at an inn or a hotel kind of thing, and he notices that there's a room missing. Like sometimes he sees a door to room number 13, but then sometimes it's not there. Just lots of creepy things, just weird things that happen. Real short. I really enjoyed that book, and there's more stories. I think there's a second volume of Ghost Stories by M.R. James that I have. I think it's on my Kindle, that I would like to read maybe later on in the month when I get through a couple of other things that I've already got in progress. But I really had fun with that one. The other horror that I read is also an anthology, and this is by J. Sheridan Le Fanu, and this is called In a Glass Darkly. Now this is 5 horror stories, and again, this is one of those classic authors. So it's got that same kind of atmospheric kind of feel. And they were all pretty interesting. I think the most notable one in this collection is Carmilla, which most people know Dracula as Dracula. He's like one of the most iconic vampire characters. But before Bram Stoker wrote Dracula, there were other authors who did vampire stories, and one of them was Le Fanu. He did the story Carmilla of a female vampire. Really interesting to see this story in there. That one was my favorite out of the collection. There was several other stories in there. It was really good. I think if you really want to see how some of the newer authors have gotten some of their inspiration, go back and read some of these classic horrors. They're not necessarily scary unless you like put yourself in that situation. You have to imagine yourself being in the 1800s or early 1900s and experiencing these things, not with the jaded viewpoint that we have as people living today. So it's a different kind of horror, and you really have to try to put yourself in that mindset. But if you do, then you can really get a lot out of them, and they're really, really fun. Let's see. So the other horror that I read, those two were ebooks. The other horror that I read is a physical book, and this is Fires of Eden by Dan Simmons. And this was the last of the seasons of horror, or the last one that I've read in that series. I kind of read there's 4 books. I read the last 3 kind of out of order. But so this for me finishes up that series. This one is set in Hawaii, uh, there are, and they mention all the different islands and the particular island that they're on that one, but I can't remember at this moment. I know they keep saying Hilo, but I don't know if that's an island or if that's a city on an island. Anyway, it involves several different characters. There's a huge resort, and this very rich guy is trying to sell it because he's not making money. And at the same time that he's trying to go through this big sale, these buyers are coming in to the resort to visit with him and negotiate, but there's people missing. Strange things are happening. And there's other characters that are there specifically because they want to find out what's going on with the mysteries of these missing people. So there's a lot of different things that happen, and it's scary in that it does talk about mythological beings local to the Hawaiian Islands and vengeance that these I think some of them they call gods and some of them are called something else. I mean, this is a Dan Simmons story, so it's always very weird. But he takes some of those cultural and mythological type stories and puts them into this. And it's interesting that one of the characters in this book, because there's the main story, and then there's also a journal that dates back to the mid 1800s, and that journal is also set on this Hawaiian island. So it's kind of like two stories at the same time about the same thing. And one of the people that's involved in the 1800s timeline is Samuel Clemens, and if you don't know, Samuel Clemens is the name for Mark Twain. So it's really, really interesting and fun how that kind of all ties in together. It is very creepy. It's I would say though, of the 4 books in that series, this is my least favorite, but I did enjoy it. So that was that. And I'm probably going to be donating this to a little free library. So let's see. The next thing that I read was a mystery, which was Halloween Party by Agatha Christie. I've read that one before, and I really, really enjoy that one. I think of the side characters in the Hercule Poirot stories, Ariadne Oliver is one of my favorites, and she's in this one, and I really enjoy it. A Halloween party, they invite all these children to come over, and they have different games and activities set up. And during one of the conversations, people are telling creepy stories and this, that, and the other thing. And one of the young girls, I think she's like 12 or something, and she mentions just kind of offhandedly in front of everyone that she witnessed a murder. And everybody thinks that she's lying because she's that kind of girl. She's always telling tall tales and stuff like that. So nobody believes her, but then she winds up drowned in the bobbing for apples tub full of water. So so it kind of unfolds from there, and it's a really good story. I've read this one, like I said, multiple times, and I very much enjoyed it. So I had fun again with that one. Last book in this list is my favorite that I've read these last few days, and this is Ursula K. Le Guin, The Lathe of Heaven. I don't know what I thought this was gonna be, because I didn't know anything about it, and I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to read that. This was written in the 70s, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like it. I don't know. And then because I saw how short it is, I thought I'm gonna give it a try, and it turns out I was fascinated from cover to cover. Really had a good time. It involves this man who realizes that something is going on when he sleeps and when he dreams particularly, and when he wakes up, things have changed in the real world. And he starts to realize that he's doing it. Whatever he dreams is happening. And he starts taking drugs to force himself to no longer get into that dream state. And then he doesn't want to take the drugs anymore. He wants to kick that habit, but he still doesn't want to dream. And he's suffering from lack of sleep. He's trying to stay awake all the time, and he ends up going to see this doctor. And he's having to try to convince this doctor that these things are really happening. And I don't want to give any more away because it's a very short story and everything kind of progresses very, very quickly, but it's very, very, very interesting, very thought-provoking. It's not difficult or heavy reading, but she packs a lot into this little short story. It's less than 200 pages. It's 175 pages. And it was super interesting to me, and I had a really good time with it, and I am definitely excited to read more by Ursula K. Le Guin, and I have already signed up for a read-along in November to read another story by her called The Dispossessed. So I'm super excited to learn more about this author. And that is all I have done in the past week and a half, I think. I'm glad that you came to spend time with me, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.